What's up, everybody in the YouTube world? As you see by the title of this video, we're going to be looking into a Gixxer 600 motor that threw a rod. What we're going to be doing is opening it up and seeing what type of damage has been done to the motor. Now, when a rod is thrown, it usually happens as the bearings under these connecting rods wear down. It'll start off with a knock, and as that knock gets worse and wears down the bearings, it has potential to throw that rod out at high RPM, low RPM, any direction that rod is when the problem occurs. Now, this motor right here is not the motor we're going to be looking at, but I'm using this motor to show you. This motor was taken apart because it had a rod knock on this one and this one. As you can see, whenever you hear a rod knock in a motor, you get that happening at whatever RPMs you are. Now, rod bearings have the potential to catastrophically damage your motor, whether it be a car or a motorcycle. And this is what a spunt bearing looks like. You can see it took on a football type shape. It's all scored in the inside. You got an upper and you got a lower. Now, thankfully, this motor didn't get to the point of throwing a rod out, but you can see the scoring of the crankshaft right there. Some people will say you need a new crank. Some people take it and get it fixed, shaved down, and they put thicker rod bearings on it. But in the case of the motor we're talking about today, it completely threw a rod. We're going to take a look at this motor, see what happened when it threw the rod, and we're going to open it up and see what type of damage has occurred. And there we have it. Connecting rod completely sticking out of this case. Oh, still got some coolant in there. So you have a connecting rod that the bearing was so worn out it shot loose and made this rod just bounce around on the crankshaft, which after a while at high RPM is gonna come loose and shoot straight out whatever direction. You can see it broke the lower and put a nice rod size hole in the middle casing. Now, there might be damage up here in the head all the way down to the bottom transmission. The clutch is right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open this bad boy and see what all this thrown rod did to this motor. Stay tuned.
got the valve cover off, got the cam caps off, and when I got to this one, I noticed it was a little bit harder for me to remove this, which is telling me there might be some valve damage in this cylinder head. I can't really tell, but this cap is on there in a way that it shouldn't be. It's real tight, so we might discover some bent valves, stuck valves, or just simply valve damage, maybe broken. Let me take a couple whacks at this cap, see if I can get it off. There we go. Yeah, this thing is in there. Cams look all right. No scoring. They don't look bent. We're gonna go ahead and get these cams out of here. Now the next thing we're gonna do is try to get these lifters out of here. I don't know if you notice, but this lifter here is quite a bit higher. It's above flush from the motor casing, so we might have something going on right there. Everything else is flush except for this one, so we might have a broke valve in there. We'll see here soon. Let me get this cylinder head off, see what we find. So I just had a bruh moment. I'm sitting here trying to get the cylinder head off and forgot to take those two 5mm Allen key bolts off. So let me get those off and remove this cylinder head. Okay, so the fun begins. Just got the cylinder head off. And remember I was saying that this tappet was a little bit taller than the rest of them. This is why. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely catastrophic destruction of that piston right there. This cylinder head is no longer good, ladies and gentlemen, because I can guarantee you that that piston is jammed up in that wall right there and has done scarring damage to that cylinder wall. Look, here's a valve. So there's a valve head right there. So we already know what to expect in that cylinder head. This is crazy. Get you a better look. Catastrophic. And it's not moving. It's jammed in there. Look at the piston ring. Well, we know that there won't be much internal salvaging out of this motor, but we ain't gonna stop there though. We're gonna open this bad boy all the way up and see what else we find. Here's a quick look at the bottom part of the cylinder head. As you can see, that valve head that we were missing right there. And I don't know what that little screw just came out of, but it fell out of somewhere in this cylinder head. So did the rod throw because some debris from some motor work was still left in there, or was it just straight up bearing failure? We're gonna get the rest of this motor broken down. I might not film it all, but once we get to the meat and potatoes, we're gonna see what all's going on. Alright, so I went ahead and took the clutch cover and the stator cover off already. Motor is a little bit more bare right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this clutch pulled up out of here. Get all the plates out, take the basket out, get everything from behind it that we need to get out of there, and then we'll be able to start flipping this motor over. I'm gonna also take out the cam chain guides and the cam chain. pretty much everything is out. Still got to get the oil pump chain off. Got to remove that bolt right there. You can see all the broken up motor pieces and piston piece, piston cap bolt, all type of stuff in there. I'm not really gonna go into full detail on how to tear this motor down. I got another video that shows the tear down a little bit more specific. Basically, I'm just opening this one to see what all damage is done. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of stuff still looks good. Of course, the casing is gone. It's got these holes in it, but everything that I can salvage off of this motor, I'm just gonna keep for parts. But let me go ahead and get the bolts out the bottom, flip it over, get the other bolts out, and crack this thing apart. Here we go. finally got this thing split apart. Take a quick look at it. As y'all can tell, it's already nighttime. I started on it earlier, but now it's already nighttime. So we'll take a quick look at it now, and then in the morning we'll go over it more in depth. But as you can see, the rod, like I was saying, that bearing sleeve doesn't really look bad at all. I don't see anything bent or any broken teeth. Like I said, we'll take these caps off tomorrow and see what else we see in there. So far, this is all the loose junk that came out of it. Nice little pile of weird stuff. Motor casing, bolts, screws. But yeah, I know the motor is not going to be salvageable as far as the casings or whatever, but a lot of parts might be salvageable for another bike. But we'll see though. Transmission. Dogs look pretty good on there. So yeah, like I say, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. I'll get up in the morning, get back out here in some daylight, see what we can see what we can find. And if by some miracle, see if this crankshaft is still salvageable. But yes, looking like it just threw a rod completely off and it got jammed up, and that's where it stopped. So we'll check all that out. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, we back in here the next day to assess the damage. And honestly, not too much stuff was damaged, surprisingly. The main thing I saw was this rod, the other end is completely obliterated. Still getting chunks of stuff. This is the pile of everything that fell out of here. Looks like mainly it's just the bearings and the rod, but the crank still turns pretty good. Not that much scuff on it, but there is some on there. Looks like it took a little chunk out right there, damaged that, which is no good. But the transmission still looks good, both parts. Of course, the case is done. The oil pump is still good. Clutch, everything in the clutch still looked good. Cam chain wasn't snapped. No holes in the oil pan. But yeah, this crank is pretty much done. Still looks good, but it's done. May be able to take these 3 pistons out and put all the extra stuff aside for parts. Do a lot of motor work. But yeah, this part of the motor, the gears and all that still look good. Forks, the dogs, the teeth. You can see the broke case right here. So along with that, the camshafts look pretty good. The caps are good, but that's not good right there. So although we will be able to salvage a lot of good random pieces off of this motor, it looks like the casings, both casings, lower, middle, the crank, and the cylinder head is all trash. But yep, again, here's the pile of stuff that came out of there. I honestly think some stuff, I don't even want to say the bearing went bad and spun. There was some stuff falling out of this motor that I don't necessarily know where it came from. But I'm starting to think something else compromised this motor and not a spun bearing, but I could be wrong. Nevertheless though, this is what happens when you throw a rod. You basically sit here with a pile of parts you could salvage and the rest is trash. This is a 06-07 Gixxer 600 motor through a rod. So if you ever want to know what it looks like and what the damage is when you throw a rod, it's catastrophic. Like I said last time, I didn't really show how to break down the motor step by step, piece by piece. You know, you are able to see me break it down, but I do have another video where I show you more in depth how to break this motor down. Haven't seen a video on YouTube on how to tear it down or how to rebuild it, but I will be rebuilding this other motor that I have taken apart. So might be the first video on YouTube of a 06 through 09 Gixxer motor rebuild. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video. J&C Bikes, I'm out.